Hey, thanks for checking out the devlog. I'm Chris. No, I'm Three Gnomes, but I am Chris. My real name's Chris. I go by Three Gnomes online. That's not as fun to say. Anyways, I'm working on a psychological horror 3D platformer game called Toby's Topsy Tale, which is kind of Lovecraft inspired. I've been working on this game since 2017, and don't click away, I know 5 years, oh my god, it's 7 years now. Anyways, I know 7 years is a long time for someone to be working on a game, and it's easy to just kind of put that aside as, oh, they're never going to finish it. But I've only been actively working on this game for a little over a year, probably going on 2 years now. I started this project back when I was just planning to do art, and I was working with someone else who was going to do the coding, and that ended up falling through, so I've been working on the game entirely by myself for the last couple years. And now I'm actually getting into the home stretch where hopefully I'll have it done soon. So anyways, here's what I've been working on. In one of my past devlogs, I showed off the pause menu that I'd started making. And at the time, I'd only made the settings menu and the customization menu and the ability to exit to the main menu. So I started working on the character screen, which will allow you to keep track of the characters that you've interacted with in the world. Pretty much when you talk to one, ideally, they'll immediately pop up in your book and you'll have a cute little icon that you've unlocked for them. So I started by just adding a few of those in and testing it to make sure it would work. And testing again. And testing again. And that worked, and then I had to just do the grunt work of making actual little profile images for every single character in the game, which is one of those tasks that's fun, but also it just drags and feels like it takes forever to actually get done. Anyways, I like having all the little silhouettes and then they pop up as you explore the game. Ideally makes you think about all the different things that are to come that are you're gonna unlock, and that was fun. And now let's talk about the winner of the Discord challenge that I did when I hit 1,000 subscribers to design an enemy. We had a lot of good designs, but the winner ended up being Barovia, who made a flaming spider pie enemy design that I really liked and I thought would work really well in both the fridge world and possibly even the oven. So I got to work 3D modeling it, trying to stay as true to the original design as I could. It wasn't an incredibly complex design, really, but I really wanted to make sure that it fit exactly what the person created, because I absolutely loved the design. When it was finally done, I threw it over into Unity and began playing around with it. I thought it looked good, but it was a little flat because none of the textures had been made outside of Unity. I was just going to recreate them inside. So there was, just flat, no normal textures or anything. So I began doing that. I started with the pie crust, and then I did the legs, trying to make them look like apple pie filling. And then I just added some slight texturing to the pan, and some of the subtler details are hard to see, but I still think they matter. It's those little subtleties that I think really make games feel like they're more realistic. So if you're making games, make sure you don't overlook those. If you think nobody's going to see this, you might be right, but the people that do will appreciate it. And also, I think the subconscious mind picks up on the little details that aren't obvious, and it all kind of just adds to the feeling of, oh, there was a lot of attention put into these types of things. So don't go overboard with it, but also don't underestimate your detail work. So there are a few different states that the creature goes through. So I started by just setting it at the animation I made for kind of an idle, relaxed state. Little legs, more friendly eyes, a lot lower to the ground, kind of just a cute little pie sitting there. And then I gave it a makeshift way to kind of tell if something, well, namely you, are in front of it, and then it would react to that and change shape, but essentially it's just a collider in front of it. Real simple, just to give it a way to know if you're in its field of view. After that, I set it on fire. Ideally, the fire will only pop up like this later after it's been kind of activated into attack mode, but for now it's just going to burn all the time. Now that it was nice and hot, I decided to go ahead and start adding some coding onto it. So the first step was just activating when you walk into its field of view, and it'll change shape. Essentially, it has a reaction, an animation that's essentially just like noticing you and shifting into a more aggressive stance. So I tested that just to see if it actually recognized that you walked into its field of view before I got more complicated. Next, I made what was essentially just the animation cycle of the character, where it would start in idle, and then once you walked into its field of view, it would switch to the attack, and then it would chase you down, and then it would bite you, and then essentially it would just return to its place and go back to idle. So rinse and repeat. And the first time I set it up, it actually didn't work too bad compared to some of my first attempts. Maybe I'm getting the hang of this, but I did realize that I didn't actually set up the rigid body that would essentially give it gravity and make it an object that's kind of semi-interactable. And so it flies around. So I gave it gravity, and then I set the distance that it's going to try and track you down to be way too low of a number, so it tried to get too close, and then it would just get caught in a loop of never registering that it was close enough and attacking you. But it deals damage when it hits you too. So I fixed that, and then in the process of messing around with some of the other settings, I ended up making it do this, which is not ideal. Although it is absolutely hilarious, and it didn't take long to figure out what I'd done wrong. I won't get into all of it here, but it was a quick fix. It was just so funny to see him attack, because he actually was kind of scary, and then just roll off, just roll away, just roll off a cliff. So that was a little bit of fun. So now I had, basically set up its attack loop, but I didn't have a way for you to kill it, so it would just keep coming after you again and again and again. So I had to set up a way for you to essentially attack it. It's only a one-hit enemy, but you hit it once and then it dies. And I had this really dramatic animation that I made based off Brovia's original concept art, which I thought was really cool. But I added one little thing, which is that it explodes. I just thought it kind of was dramatic for a flaming enemy to explode. Thought it was an original idea.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
Well, shoot. So the flaming pie spider enemy was done. I just had to add him to the list of characters in the new character menu that I'd set up. And obviously, looking at it like this, it's probably pretty clear. I don't necessarily show you linearly. What am I trying to... Can I even speak at all? What am I doing today? I don't show you what I'm doing in a way that's exactly the order that I did it. It's not a linear process that I'm necessarily showing you. For instance, I worked on the character menu for a while, making the icons, and eventually I got kind of burned out on that, so I switched over to work on the pie enemy and completed that, and then made its profile image and went back to doing the character menu. I jump around a lot because I feel like it keeps me from getting stuck focusing in on a task, and then the game starts to feel like you're never going to get it done. There's too much to do. So I jump around. It's just easier for me to explain it to you in these videos in a linear fashion. And that's one thing I'd recommend. If you're working on a game and you feel like you're just getting overwhelmed and something that you're doing is really repetitive, if you can, if it's not going to mess everything up, try stepping away to some other little thing that's on your to-do list and getting that done and then coming back. Splitting up tasks can really save your mental health, really, trying to work on a project. So I can't stress that enough. And if it seems like I'm really hyper-focused on each task I do, I promise you I'm not. I just know when to step away and when to come back. So now that was done, I turned my attention to something else that I'd been putting off for a long time, which is the hub world. So this is what it looks like from outside. I know that kind of ruins the magic, but currently I've only shown you kind of the view of you jumping around in the space. But if you go up to the window, for example, you're looking out at a white empty void. So I needed to make it look like you were actually in a cottage, so it needed to have like an outside. Because I don't know about your grandma's house, but I don't remember mine looking like this. So step one, make it where it's not floating in the air and put grass down. So I just kind of set a terrain outside, which is just a Unity tool if you're not familiar with Unity, and painted it to look grass-like, so it wasn't anything too complicated. I added a little bit of shaping, and then I went to kind of test, see how that looked. And I realized that apparently I never put colliders on the windows, so you could just jump out into another liminal space. And again, everything doesn't line up, and it's not going to look realistic, and it's not necessarily intended to, if that makes sense. But it was a start. So now that I had the ground done, I decided to go ahead and start adding the trees. Essentially at this point, I just wanted to start layering things to create a semi-realistic outdoor area for the house. So I put out some trees, kind of just Unity asset trees. I didn't try and break the mold and make my own trees for something that is going to be pretty much just out of focus once the post-processing is in place. So yeah, I threw up some trees. I even shrunk some down and put them in front of the windows that it would look like little bushes. And I didn't think that was too bad, but there is still the issue of the fact that you can see the horizon in the distance, because obviously I can't put thousands of trees to recreate an actual forest. So what I did is just use a flat image of trees and put them kind of around the perimeter to create the illusion, when it's all blurred out, that there is an extending forest past where you can see. And I think that's really all I needed. I added a few more little things like adding siding to the side of the house so that it would look like you're looking at a house and not the the wallpaper of the inside, as well as a mailbox and some other little things around. I might add some more, but now the hub world actually looked like a realistic semi-space. You know what I mean? Instead of just a house in a blank void. And of course, I've got some lighting things to figure out and yada yada, but you just got to start somewhere. So that was the exterior of the house. Now the hub world looked like a more realistic space instead of just a temporary level. And anyways, I've been working on more things, but I'm going to wait to the next devlog to show you. So make sure you like and subscribe. Please subscribe. My analytics show me that only like 25% of you or something that are watching these videos have subscribed to me. So if you like the content, make sure you subscribe so you see more of it. It really would help me out. Also, make sure you join the Discord. I can't begin to describe how important it is for you to be a part of a community, an active community that talks about game dev. That'll really help you continue working if you're trying to make games. So anyways, thank you for watching. I've probably said that like 3 times by now, but that's the final time. And I think I'm going to start ending my devlogs with a Lovecraft quote. So today's is, "I never ask a man what his business is, for it never interests me. What I ask him about are his thoughts and dreams." And a bonus one. Anyways, bye.